Mahal na presidente, 1995 pa to. Hanggang ngayon, wala pang kung talaga bang magkalupa kami o hindi. Sabi ni Pinoy, ayusin nyo nga to. Matanda na to ah. O ano ba ang gusto nyo? Mamamatay muna ang matanda na to bago magkalupa?
Webster says, when tillage begins, other arts follow. The farmers, therefore, are the founders of human civilization. So, let's discuss what land reform is. Land reform refers to a wide variety of programs and measures, usually by the government, to bring about more effective control and use of land for the benefit of the community.
Land reform generally comprises a takeover of land by state from big landlords with compensation and transfer it to small farmers or landless workers.
It includes various supports to agricultural education, the establishment of cooperatives, development of institutions to provide agricultural credit and other inputs, processing and marketing of agricultural produce, and establishment of agro-based industries, and others.
The desire to obtain social justice and full development of the dignity of man within given situation of land reform has gained great importance across the years in many countries of the world, especially in agricultural countries.
One of the effects of colonizing periods was the concentration of landholdings in the hands of the law. These few people, whom they call as landlords or caciques, have yielded tremendous influence in the social and economic life of the nation that they have been able to dictate to their dependents to such matters as to whom to vote for in political elections. They have also influenced political action in various ways in order to maintain the status quo.
Before the Spaniards came to the Philippines, Filipinos lived in villages or barangays ruled by the chiefs or datus. The datus comprised the nobility. Then came the maharlikas or freemen, followed by the aliping namamahay or serfs and the aliping sagigilid or slaves.
This class lived on the labor of the serfs and slaves, but in exchange, this warrior class protected them and exercised a ready, though rough kind of justice.
Sa lahat ng social structure noon, ang chief o kung tawagin ay datos ay ang itinuturing na maharlika kumpara sa ibang estado.
How does this classes work?
The freedom did not pay tributes or taxes to the datu, but were bound to follow him to war. Ang mga dato at serfs, o mas kilala bilang aliping namamahay noon, ay may kasunduan na yung naproproduce na land ay hahatiin sa kanila. And yung mga ari-arian nila ay pwedeng maipasa sa kanilang mga anak. While sa mga slaves naman, they serves their master or lord in both of his house and farm, and pwede rin silang maipagbili tulad nung mga nahuli or nakuha sa mga labanan na sinalihan o pinagmumunuan ng kanilang dato.
In the subsistence economy of the early Filipinos, money was unknown, and rice served as a medium of exchange. During the Spanish colonial period, lands were divided and granted to encourage Spanish settlers or reward soldiers who served the crown. These were called encomiendas.
Ang encomienda ay isang benepisyo na natanggap ng mga Kastila kung saan sila ay binigyan ng kalupaan ng hari. Kaakibat nito ay ang pagprotekta sa encomienda sa anumang giyera at panatiliin ang kapayapaan nito. Ang kapalit nito ay binigyan karapatan ng hari na maningil ng salapi na may halaga na itinakda ng gobyerno mula sa mga Indio.
The encomienda system was originally established more for the benefit of the natives than of the encomenderos. The encomenderos became the first group of hacenderos in the country. The system, however, degenerated into abuse of power by the encomenderos.
The tributes they were authorized to collect soon became land rents, and the people living within the boundaries of the encomienda became tenants.
Meanwhile, the colonial government took the place of the datus. The datu was now called cabeza de barangay, but it was the proprietors of the estates who held the real power in the barangay or community.
Mayroong four classes of estate proprietors in the Philippines noong Spanish period. Una ay ang religious orders sa Dominican at Augustinian, pangalawa ang Spanish Peninsulares, pangatlo ang Criollos at Mestizos at ang panghuli ay ang Native Principals.
The Dominican friars leased their lands to both the natives and mestizos, who became known as inquilinos. And how does it work in the Spanish era?
Each inquilino paid the fixed ground rent for the area he cultivated, and the estate owners was not allowed to lease the land to others unless the incumbent leaseholder failed to pay the rent for 2 consecutive years. However, the inquilinos abused this policy by disposing of lands as if they owned them. Binebenta nila yung interest or mortgage sa mga mayayaman or mas mataas ang estado sa kanila sa mas mataas na presyo kaysa sa kung ano yung binabayaran nila.
Although Spanish authorities were aware of these pernicious practices, no effective measures were made in spite of 2 royal decrees issued in 1880 and 1184 urging landholders to secure titles. But because the large majority of peasants either did not understand the law or found the procedure too complicated and alien to tradition, only a few took advantage of the offer. On January of 1899, a declination of confiscating large estates, especially friar lands, was declared by the government of the President Emilio Aguinaldo, though the plan was never implemented.
Why was President Aguinaldo's plan never got implemented?
Si President Emilio Aguinaldo ay nahuli ng pwersa ng mga Amerikano noong ika-23 ng Marso taong 1901 at pinasumpa ng mga Amerikano noong ika-19 ng Abril taong 1901. Noong nag-umpisa ang American era, umabot sa 400,000 ang magsasakang walang sariling titulo ng kanilang lupa. Dahil dito, nagkaroon ng agawan ng mga lupa at ang problema ay mas lalong lumala.
How did they solve the problem?
Ang mga Amerikano ay gumawa ng tinatawag na sistema na Torrent System o Land Registration Act of 1902, Act No. 496. Ginawa ito upang magkaroon ng land registration ang mga mamamayan. Bagamat marami pa rin ang hindi nag-abila sa sistema na ito dahil sa kakulangan ng kaalaman at kawalang kakayahang magbayad ng fee para magkaroon ng Torrens title.
However, for the friar lands, Americans did not have authorities over this because of the valid land title during the Spanish era. The only solution they have come up with is to outright the purchase of the land, which resulting in 1919. About 69% of all friar lands had been bought and disposed of by the U.S. civil government of the Philippines. Commonwealth was established under by Manuel L. Quezon. During this time, the problem of land lecture had given cause to armed discontent among oppressed tenants of the estates. Pedro Calosa spearheaded the so-called Colorum Revolt in Tayug, Pangasinan in 1931. And 4 years later, Benigno Ramos mounted the Sakdal Revolution in Cabuyao, Laguna.
How did Manuel L. Quezon solve the problem of the tenants?
Quezon had championed tenants' plight. He improved and strengthened the existing laws of the land tenure. He gave freedom to landowners and tenants to enter tenancy contract that is not contrary to law, morals, and public policy.
The Quezon administration began under the 1935 Constitution, which declares the promotion of social justice to ensure the well-being and economic security of all people should be the concern of the state. During the Third Republic, President Manuel Rojas established Republic Act No. 34, where 70-30 arrangement between the tenant and the landlord. Meanwhile, on the presidency of Elpidio Quirino, He established Executive Order Number 355, which replaced the National Land Settlement Administration with Land Settlement Development Corporation.
What are the Republic Acts under the Magsaysay administration?
During 1957, there are three public acts that has been accomplished. First, Republic Act Number 1166, which was the creation of Natural Resettlement and Rehabilitation Administration, or also known as NARA. It was particularly aimed at the peasant of the HUK movement and was successful in attracting rebels to return back to the peaceful life by giving them homelands and farms in Nara resettlement in Palawan and some parts of Mindanao. Second, Republic Act Number 1199, which was the Agricultural Tenancy Act, provided security of tenure for tenants. And lastly, Republic Act Number 1400, which was the Land Reform Act, provided for the acquisition of large tenanted rice and corn lands, over 200 hectares if owned by individuals and 600 hectares if owned by the corporation.
What is Republic Act Number 3844 under the Diosdado Macapagal administration?
In 1961 to 1965, President Macapagal administrated the Republic Act Number 3844, also known as the Agricultural Land Reform Code, was enacted. This Republic Act abolished the shared tenancy. It also invested the rights of preemption and redemption for tenants, farmers. This Republic Act is made to make the small farmers to be more self-independent.
Under the Marcos administration, the following were accomplished. The Republic Act Number 6389, which is the instituted Code of Agrarian Reform, and the creation of the Department of Agrarian Reform. Next is the Presidential Decree Number 2, which placed the whole country under the Land Reform Program. Lastly, the Presidential Decree Number 27, which restricted land reform scope to tenanted rice and corn lands.
What are the two aspects of land distribution under Presidential Decree Number 27?
Ang dalawang aspekto ng land distribution determination of the lands to be transferred na kung saan ang rice at corn ay napili dahil ito yung mga lupa na need agad mabago. Pangalawa naman ay ang financing, na kung saan ito ay narasolbahan dahil sa pag-ayos ng halaga ng mga lupa.
President Corazon Aquino's administration has achieved many agrarian reforms. In 1987 Constitution, Article 2, Section 21, this article states that it shall promote comprehensive rural development and agrarian reforms. This is one of the administrations of President Aquino achieved.
What is the Republic Act on Agrarian Reform that the administration of President Aquino created?
According to the President Aquino centerpiece of administration, the launching was signed by the President on July 22, 1987, which implemented the mechanism needed for the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, or CARP. Various measures were adopted to facilitate CARP implementation after the emerge of a year debate.
Executive Order Number 405 na kung saan ang Land Bank of the Philippines ay may primarily na may responsibilidad sa land valuation. Executive Order Number 406 na kung saan ine-emphasize nito na ang CARP ay sentral ng gobyernong pabilisin ang countryside ng agro-industrial development. Ang muli naman ay ang Executive Number 407 na kung saan inutusan ng gobyerno na lahat ng instrumentalities, its financial institution at corporation ay ibibigay sa DOR o lands dahil sa pag-cover na agrikultura ng CARP.
Public support is important in strengthening the case for agrarian reform. Legislators are able to block funding for the CARP because the public is not keen on the issues and does not complain. It would probably make a lot of difference if the public, perhaps through civil society groups and other influential social sectors, made itself heard whenever legislators tried to slash the budget for the CARP. Agrarian reform entails more than just land distribution. Poor farmers used to the dominant ways of the previous system need help to afford to take the entire risk of land ownership. They must be provided with a comprehensive package of support services before access to land can be translated into productivity and growth, food security, and freedom from poverty.
There is still much work left to do, but we can be hopeful that the policies and initiatives being implemented will lead to a more equitable and prosperous future for rural communities. This has been Shairin Santos, your reliable documentary body, only here on Truth Teller Tribune.
Mamamatay tayo lahat ng gutom dahil kami ang nagbubungkad ng lupa para ipapunta dito yung mga produkto sa Maynila para makakain tayo lahat.